And it's what's theirs is theirs, what's mine is mine, and never shall the two meet.
Correct.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tonka Talk. Doing a very special Tonka Talk this week where I'm interviewing local veterans in and around the Lake Minnetonka area. And I wanted to start with Cheryl Holds for a couple of reasons. One, she happens to be my broker. I'm a residential realtor, as many of you know, with Excelsior Realty. And Cheryl was in the military in the Air Force. So thank you for coming and sharing your story. I've chatted with Cheryl over the years a few times about her experience, and there were a few things that fascinate me. Can you share, for one, what branch of the military you were in and when?
So I was in the Air Force. I was stationed in California, Sacramento. That was my first assignment. Mm-hmm. I was 20 years old.
Oh my gosh, a baby.
I got my college degree first, and it was 1985 is when I graduated from college. I think I graduated in May. Had a couple months of really a lot of fun, and then I went in November, and I left in 91.
Wow.
So 6 of my 8 years were active duty, and then 2 years were inactive duty, and then I got to be a consultant, so that was really incredible.
In the Air Force.
In the Air Force.
How would you sum up the biggest thing that you take away from your time in the military?
The leadership. We've talked about how it's the best management training anybody could ever get, and that's whether you're an officer or you're not a commissioned officer. They teach you the whole person. They teach you how to handle stress. They teach you about your whole person health. They teach you about problem solving and finding out how to lead a team, because just because you have an officer rank doesn't mean people are going to follow you. So that was probably my biggest thing that I use today, is how to manage people in our team.
Which is amazing, and I can see how that really comes in handy, because Cheryl runs an entire team at Excelsior Real Estate, and I've been to multiple of our team meetings, and it's often like herding cats.
Which I kind of like a little bit of that chaos.
Yeah.
I do actually thrive a little bit on that, and it's such a higher energy that, you just kind of want to run with it because it just feels good. But.
Mm-hmm. You went into the military at such a young age. You were 20 years old. What would you say was the biggest surprise? Something maybe that you didn't, was it what you expected it to be?
So the perception was, when I went into the student union and I said, well, what are you hiring for? My perception was like, oh yeah, I can do that. Not a problem. I can do this. And getting in was probably one of the hardest things ever, because, you're 20, you don't know what you want to do with your life. I knew what I didn't want to do, and I didn't want to be poor, but I definitely wanted a space to learn in and grow in and have a purpose, I guess.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really going for the calling that some people get when they go in the military or the police force or the fire department. But I did actually grow into, wow, this is pretty amazing. I need to get the most out of this that I can get while I'm in here. But the hardest part about it was just the whole, okay, what? I gotta be at work at 7:30. What? I gotta put in 8 hours, and oh, by the way, I've gotta go run an air show this weekend. And I was 20, and I've gotta manage 21 people, and and half are civilian, half are military, and you have no clue. You literally have no clue. But they don't let you down. They don't. You're surrounded by a team of people just like we are at work, right? So there's very little difference from working in a military environment when you're in your core time, like your 8 to 5 time. When you're on your training exercises, that is pure military. But the actual training you get, though, is better than you'll ever get at any company, any corporation.
Mm-hmm. And training in what way?
So we did lots and lots of team building like exercises. So the first one was, here's a list of all these people and personalities, and here's the problem. And you had to figure out, it was kind of like what Colonel Mustard did it with the candlestick in the library. It was kind of like that. So I was like the only, you talked about a memory. This is one of my favorite memories. We're in their room, and I'm in a flight, and we're in a school, and they said, okay, here's the here's the characteristics of this problem, now go solve it. And it's like a two-part problem. First part is with your flight, the next part's with your whole squadron, and then you had to learn how to work as a team, as a flight, as a squadron, and as a wing. So I was like, okay, well, this is a logic problem. So I got up and I did a logic thing, a grid, and I marked out all the things we did know, and we narrowed it down to the 2 we did know. We literally had it solved in like, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds or something. It was like a world record for middle school. So then we had to run, hustle, we had to get outside, and then we had this gigantic parking lot with, had to be 500-600 people, and you had to get your team, you had to get them organized, and then you had a new checklist of problems. So not only was it problem solving, it was fast problem solving, it was decision making, it was, if you're the team leader of that exercise, it's getting your team rallied, not telling them what to do, but getting them to understand why it's important to do these things. I mean, it was just, and then you had to then run your answers over to then the wing answer, and then we were competing with other wings. So, I mean, it was not only just little bitty, go file this piece of paper, and, I'm not going to tell you how to do it, just go figure it out. No, this is like big, real-time situations that you had to learn how to, and so now I'm very decisive. Yes. I know how to analyze a problem. I know the importance. I know how to prioritize. I know how to get up at 7:30 in the morning. Yeah. I know what it feels like to actually, have those kind of, work ethics, at a very young age. And I think a lot of our kids today really aren't coming into the workforce with these type of skills.
I would say that is absolutely true. And in working with you and hearing you speak about your time in the military, everything you're saying could be what you do right now as a broker. Correct. What you do right now with your team, the problem solving, all of that. I've seen it play out because I've worked with Cheryl. Yeah. And it's so neat to see that connection and that experience just really molded you, and it sounded like gave you these tools that into life you're doing what you're doing now, and you own your own brokerage and you've got this whole team.
No fear.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, because you mentioned that one thing that experience in the military gave you was not having fear.
Right, and no fear is different than the adrenaline that you get when you are afraid. So, we're always being put into situations that kind of got us used to that adrenaline, got us used to the true human fear. The fear I'm talking about is somebody tells you what to do, you go do it. You can't question it, you just go do it. So then, as I progressed through life, my technical skill in the Air Force was purchasing, contracts, and logistics. So I got logistics training, I got project management training, and I got contract training, which was just an unbelievable life skill. But that's just my technical training. But then I had to learn how to fundraise for United Way. I had to learn how to, like I mentioned, run an air show. I had to learn, we're not talking small projects here. Yeah. You take on the whole base and you're expected to perform. So that no fear is, okay, I can literally now walk into any company and I can literally figure it out, maybe a little longer than some people that don't come in with experience, but I have no fear in walking in and taking over and figuring it out and getting a job done. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
So, and in real estate, I just remember people, when I tell them what I do and how we do it, and we get new agents, and like, what, I have to door knock? And I'm like, yeah. What's wrong with door knocking? You get to go meet people. That's one of my favorite things.
You have to talk to people.
You have to talk to people. You have to look them in the eye. And, or, you've got to pick up the phone. And people are so afraid of presenting, talking to people on the phone, opening up a conversation at Caribou, talking to people at an event. Half the things we do is really just building relationships with people, right? Yeah. And there's just so many kids coming into the industries now don't have some of these soft skills that I got at age 20. So when I got out of the military, I was worth $10,000, $20,000 more a year because I could walk in with these skills that we don't currently see right now.
And it's really interesting to me how you define not having any fear, because you're not saying that you're not acknowledging if there's a threat or if something's very stressful. You're just not stopping.
Right.
You're still going to get done.
Yeah, I'm not letting my mind, because half of the battle it's all your mind, it's all your thinking, it's your attitude. And if I see it as an opportunity or if I see it as a death threat, okay, so let's just take that example. If it's a death threat, it's like, okay, how can we save these people? Not, oh my God, somebody's gonna blow me up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the way they teach us, the way they taught us to just handle the situation, kind of take the breath, kind of realize, okay, Natalie, what do you think? Karen, what do you think? And Amber, what do you think? It's like, you got to get your data, you got to think about it. and you have to do it fast.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of skills that...
It's just like real estate.
It's just like real estate, you know? You walk in and there's a barking, biting dog, and you got to hold an open house, and it's like, okay, how do I get him into a bedroom while these people are in the house? Yeah. No, I'm serious.
I can really
Little
see
things like that.
how that would be. How long after you got out of the military did you get into real estate?
Oh, when I was 40. So I got out of the military when I was 24, 25. Wait, yes, 6 years. So I was 20, so I was 25. And and then every job I got after the military obviously started with my core technical skill, which was contracts and logistics, project management. And I just kept finding jobs that needed a little bit more. So I would take on a purchasing job, and it turned into, will you handle our warehouse? Will you handle our inventory? Will you handle this? Will you handle that? So it's kind of like, yeah. I mean, I had no idea what they wanted, but I'll figure it out. You know, I mean, that's what I think some companies really need or appreciate. So if there's a skill out there, that is one that you can bring. And one of my favorite things is if somebody walks up and says, what can I help you with today? I'm like, it's so refreshing, because they may not know, and I may need something that they've never done before, but how fun would it be if you could just Google it, figure it out, put it together, and bring it back, you know?
Yeah, and that is a lot of what I feel we do in real estate as a team is you've been in real estate for how long now?
20 years.
20 years, and I've heard you say every transaction is still different.
Yeah, every person, every house, every transaction. Completely different than the one before. Every day is a new day.
But one thing you've really been clear with us as a team is that Cheryl has this exercise kind of that she has us do, which is you picture these mirrors all around you and you face them outwards.
Correct.
And it's what's theirs is theirs, what's mine is mine, and never shall the two meet.
Correct. So it's kind of like, you know, what theirs is theirs, what's mine is mine. And then, you know, people are going through a lot all the time. It doesn't matter whether it's an industry. You know, think about it when you're in an 8 to 5 job somewhere and somebody's not happy and, you know, they're just kind of that grouchy person on the floor. Well, they might have something going on in their life that's happening to them. So I think a lot of that awareness comes from all these transactions and all these personalities that we deal with. It's like, okay, well, how can I help this situation? I mean, I literally just hung up the phone today with a client, and she said, okay, so that was my therapy with Cheryl, you know, and she goes, thank you for listening. And I'm like, that's my job, you know? How can I make that better for you? But then how do I keep it from affecting me, right? So those mirrors on the outside, it kind of like it comes in, but it bounces back.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're not going to solve the problem, but you're not making it about your own emotions. I want to be there for you, I want to be present for you, but I don't want to absorb or be an empath, right? To absorb that kind of stuff. And that's taken me a long time. That was not taught to me in the military. In the military, you're taught to, you know, you may be sending this person out to die, and that you have to compartmentalize that. And so some people think that I am not emotional, I'm not an empath, when it's really the opposite's true. I'm over caring, I'm over service oriented, but I have learned that you have to do that, right? But until I actually sat in my car before I go into an appointment, it's like, what's theirs is theirs, what's mine is mine. Which is such an amazing tool. It's one that I know I've used a few times, and one time in particular I was struggling with something and I called Cheryl and I was just bawling, and it was just such a great reset, because I realized too that we can still understand what our clients need and even be there when they're upset, and sometimes there's a lot going on, and it's okay. Sometimes people just need to vent.
And it's not you. They needed that for some reason at that moment in time, or we weren't gonna proceed, right? I mean, how many times have we been faced with situations where they're like, oh, I'm done, I'm not going to do it. And so it's not our job to talk them into something they don't want to do. You never want to do stuff like that, but you definitely want to listen, and you definitely want to help them understand why they're feeling that way, and then solve what the real issue is. So it's not the toilet running, you know, the handle needs to be jiggled or the flapper needs to be changed, right? That may be some of it, but no, there's some emotion that's going on. Okay, so I just found out that they had either a really bad day at work or they lost a really big deal. Maybe they were thinking about using those funds for the down payment, right? So there was the real reason. And a lot of it's like, oh, well then how about if we just increase the sales price to cover those closing costs so you don't feel this pressure? And they're like, wow, okay.
Always a solution.
Always a solution. And sometimes it is not closing on the house. Because if it's that painful or that emotionally scary for them, then the last thing you want to do is give them keys to a house that they are going to want to sell in 6 months.
So would you say then that your time in the military, I mean, definitely it sounds like it was an absolute benefit, and it's something you still lean on in the work you do today, all these years later.
Every single day. And I don't think I think when I was 20, I was just trying to survive. I was just trying to figure things out. I was just trying to make it through the days as far as, all these things I had to learn and do and get caught up on and succeed, because you're getting rated, on everything you do every single day. And at the same time, you're thinking, oh my gosh, is my team going to follow me? Are they going to be there for me? Or am I going to, not get a good rating because of it or whatever? So what I do now is I just think about the pride, right?
Yeah.
The pride that I actually had this type of experience, or this experience was given to me. I really do feel like it was a privilege. I really wish a lot of kids, right now we've been sending messages to our kids to say we want to get more kids in trades. And, and I'm realizing college isn't for everybody and things like that. Well, if that's the case, please consider the military. It's different today than it was when I was in, and it was different than when my dad was in, right? So their qualifications might be a little bit higher, or they might be more technical. They want you to have more programming, more coding, more keyboarding type of skills. But I really would like to say, please give them give it an opportunity, because you'll get to do more in that period of time than any company will ever give you in another situation.
Mm-hmm.
They'll never give you this much responsibility when you're that young. They'll never give you these type of skills, because it's gonna take longer if you're in the civilian side.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved it. It was just, now I know how wonderful it was going through it. Maybe not so much, because it was just all new.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pride right now is amazing.
Yeah, that is so amazing. It's just so interesting to hear how it all impacted your life later.
Every day.
It was 6 years of your life, but all these years later, how that time you spent in the military, you're still finding benefits from, which is really good to hear, because it's not always each person's experience.
Right.
But it is the experience of many, as I've spoken to a few veterans lately, of how it really gave them a launching pad and a basis for how things work, or how they can work, or what they are actually capable of.
Right.
That's kind of been a common thing that
that's
I've heard.
A really good one. Yeah, it really pushes you to a level that you had no idea that you could do some of these things. And when I look back, I'm like, wow, who was that person? And so that kind of also puts things into perspective today. Opening your own brokerage is a really scary thing.
Yeah.
The liability is beyond. But I don't feel that. I feel empowered.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the sky's the limit. I feel like our team is, amazing, and every day gets better, not worse. We all grow together and have fun while we're doing it. And that kind of stuff, you can't learn that.
No.
You have that fear, or that challenge that you are afraid of taking on because of maybe a limiting belief or whatever. No, don't do it. Just go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just go do it.
Yeah, or skip the military and come go work for Cheryl.
I can show you how to do it, but I can't make you do it.
Yeah, that's what she tells us all the time.
I can lead you to the water, but I can't get you to drink. Yeah, that's one of my favorite sayings. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I'm so glad you
this
came
is
on.
so fun. I don't know. I think this is probably the first time anybody's ever asked me about my experience in the military. Isn't that funny? I think about how many people can be mentoring with this kind of experience. So, and I've been a mentor with the Minnetonka school system for many, many years, or interns. We've got all of our interns have been from there. And please, if you're retired, please look for mentoring opportunities. There's so much we have that this is amazing. So thank you for letting me share.
Yes, no, it was absolutely fabulous. Well, there you go, Cheryl Holds. If you want to connect with her, you can find her at Excelsior Realty, which is right in Excelsior. I will put a link up on the screen where you can find her as well if you want to reach out to her as a mentor, or
I'd love to do that.
You have any questions about her military
Coaching?
experience?
Love to coach.
Yeah. All right.
So, thank you.
Thank you, and everyone else, we'll talk to you later.